The starlit quest for Middle-earth's eternal relics. Under a sky where stars burned like lanterns of forgotten gods, Elara stood on a hill overlooking the Shire, her breath catching in the chill of twilight. The world felt vast, its secrets humming in the wind that tugged at her cloak. In her hands was a map, its parchment yellowed by centuries inked with runes and tales of Middle-earth, a land of towering mountains, whispering forests, and relics that held the pulse of history. 8 artifacts, the map whispered, were the keys to this world's soul swords that sang of kings, gems that blazed with divine fire, rings that promised power or salvation. Elara, a scribe's daughter with no claim to heroism, felt a spark ignite within her. What stories do these relics hold, she wondered. What truths can they teach a wanderer like me? As she stepped into the wild, the stars seemed to lean closer, and the earth murmured a warning. Seek, but beware, these treasures test the heart. Her quest had begun. Middle-earth, Elara had learned from her father's crumbling scrolls, was a saga spun across 3 ages. The first age was a dawn of creation, when the valor shaped rivers and peaks, and Morgoth, the first Dark Lord, wove shadows into the light. The second age saw Numenor's glory, and the forging of rings that bound the world's fate. The third age, her own era, was a twilight of fading magic, where heroes like Aragorn and Frodo stood against Sauron Morgoth's heir. Each artifact was a chapter in this epic, a spark of valor, tragedy, or hope. With her quill, a weathered satchel, and a heart alight with curiosity, Elara vowed to trace their paths, to weave their stories into a tapestry that would outlast her steps. The road stretched before her, shadowed and unknown, but she walked on, driven by a hunger for truth. The Sword of Kings, Andúril. Elara's journey began in Rivendell, a valley where mist curled like elven song and waterfalls shimmered under moonlight. She arrived weary, her boots caked with mud, guided by the faint glow of elven lanterns. In a hall of carved stone she found Aragorn, a ranger whose eyes held the weight of unclaimed crowns. At his side hung Andúril, the Flame of the West, its blade, a mirror of starlight, its hilt etched with runes that pulsed with ancient power. The air around it seemed to hum as though the sword carried the heartbeat of a kingdom. Aragorn's voice was low like the rumble of distant thunder as he shared Andúril's tale, long ago in the First Age Tel Char. A dwarven smith of unmatched skill forged a blade called Narsil. Its steel was tempered with starfire, its edge keen enough to cleave shadow itself. Elara leaned closer, her eyes tracing the sword's gleam. In the Second Age, Narsil passed to Elendil, High King of Gondor, and Arnor, who wielded it in the War of the Last Alliance. On the slopes of Mount Doom, he faced Sauron, the Dark Lord, his blade flashing like the sun. But Elendil fell crushed by Sauron's mace, and Narsil shattered its light, fading into the dust. Yet Narsil's story endured. Isildur, Elendil's son, seized the broken hilt and cut the one ring from Sauron's finger, banishing his spirit. The shards were carried to Rivendell, preserved by Elrond as a symbol of a fractured realm. For 3,000 years they lay in shadow, a reminder of glory. Lost. When Sauron returned, Aragorn said, his voice heavy, "Elrond foresaw my path. The elves reforged Narsil, naming it Andúril, the Flame of the West. It is my birthright, my burden, and my vow to unite men and restore hope." Elara stepped forward, her fingers brushing Andúril's hilt. It was warm, as if alive, and she felt a surge of resolve, as though the sword whispered of battles yet to come. She saw in Aragorn's eyes a man torn between duty and doubt, his love for his people, a fire that burned brighter than fear. "What does it teach you?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. Aragorn's gaze softened, a rare smile breaking his stern facade. "Duty, Elara. A king is not born for himself, but for those he serves. Andúril is not just steel, it is a promise to fight for what is right, no matter the cost." As Elara left Rivendell, the valley's song lingered in her ears, and Andúril's light burned in her mind. She walked through moonlit forests, her heart heavy with the sword's lesson. Leadership is sacrifice, a crown forged not in gold, but in service. The road ahead was long, but Andúril's gleam guided her steps, a beacon of hope in a world shadowed by fear. The Blade of Light, Glamdring. Elara's map led her through the wilds of Eriador, where ancient ruins whispered of forgotten wars. Her path wound into a forest of gnarled oaks, their branches clawing at the sky. A storm loomed, its thunder echoing like war drums, and Elara sought shelter in a cave that reeked of decay. Inside, amid piles of gold and rusted armor, she found a sword, its blade unmarred by time, its hilt studded with sapphires that caught the flicker of her torch. Before she could touch it, a voice broke the silence. "Careful, lass. That's no ordinary blade." Bilbo Baggins, an old hobbit with a twinkle in his eye, sat by the cave's mouth, puffing on a pipe. "That's Glamdring Gandalf's sword," he said, his voice warm with memory. "I was with him when he found it, on our way to the Lonely Mountain." Elara settled beside him, the storm's roar fading as Bilbo spun a tale that carried her to the First Age. Glamdring was forged for Turgon, King of Gondolin, a hidden city of white marble and silver fountains built under the guidance of Ulmo, Lord of Waters Turgon. A Noldoran elf of wisdom and valor wielded the blade through centuries of peace, its steel glowing blue when orcs prowled near a gift of elven craft that warned of danger. But Gondolin's splendor was doomed. Morgoth, the Dark Lord, learned its location through betrayal, and his armies of orcs and balrogs descended. Turgon fought to the last, Glamdring flashing in the flames, but the city fell, its towers reduced to ash. The sword vanished, buried in the wreckage for 6,000 years. Then Gandalf found it. Bilbo said, right here in a troll's hoard. He took it up, and it served him well through battles with goblins, wargs, even a balrog in Moria. Elara knelt beside Glamdring, tracing its runes. She imagined Turgon's final stand, his blade a defiant star in the dark. The sword was more than a weapon. It was a testament to endurance, a light that survived the ruin of its master. "What did Gandalf say of it?" she asked, her voice soft against the storm's howl. Bilbo grinned, puffing a ring of smoke. "He called it a friend, lass. Said it reminded him that even in the darkest hour there's a spark worth fighting for." As Elara left the cave, the storm had passed, and Glamdring's glow lingered in her heart. She walked through dawn's light, the forest now alive with birdsong, and felt the sword's lesson. Resilience is a flame that burns through despair. Glamdring had seen empires fall, yet it endured, a reminder that courage could outlast even the greatest ruin. Elara clutched her map, her steps lighter, ready for the next Relic's tale. The Seeing Stone's Palantiri. The wind grew bitter as Elara climbed the steps of Orthanc, a black tower piercing the plains of Isengard like a shard of night. Its walls were scarred by war, its chambers echoing with betrayal. In a hidden vault she found a palantir, a sphere of dark crystal that seemed to swallow light. Its surface was smooth, but Elara felt a chill as she gazed into it, as though unseen eyes watched back. Footsteps echoed, and an old lorekeeper, his face lined with years, joined her, his voice heavy with warning. "The Palantiri were made by Feanor," he said, greatest of elven smiths in the First Age. 7 stones, each a window to the world. Elara listened as he recounted their history. Gifted to Numenor in the Second Age, the stones were brought to Middle-earth, placed in towers like Orthanc and Minas Tirith kings, and stewards used them to speak across leagues or spy on foes, their vision piercing mountains and seas. Strong minds could bend the stone's sight, glimpsing past or future, a power that united kingdoms in times of peace. But power breeds peril. When Sauron seized the Palantir of Minas Ithil, he twisted their visions, weaving lies into what they showed Saruman. Once a wise wizard gazed too long into Orthanc's stone, seeking knowledge, only to fall under Sauron's sway. Denethor, steward of Gondor, was driven to despair by visions of doom. Elara peered into the Palantir, seeing a flicker of flame, Sauron's eye perhaps, and drew back, her heart racing. The lorekeeper's voice was grim. "The Palantiri show truth, but truth can deceive." Saruman sought wisdom and found chains. Elara lingered in the vault, the stone's chill seeping into her bones. She thought of Saruman, his white robes stained by ambition, and Denethor broken by despair. The Palantiri were tools of wisdom, but also of peril. Their clarity, a trap for the proud. "What do they teach?" she asked, her voice trembling. The lorekeeper's eyes darkened. "Seek truth, child, but question what you see. A clear eye can still be blind." Elara left Orthanc with a shiver, the Palantir's weight lingering in her mind. She vowed to seek truth with humility, to guard her heart against deception, as she stepped back into the windswept plains, her map pointing to the next relic, the Jewels of Light Silmarils. Elara's journey led her to a grove in Lindon, where silver birches swayed under a moonlit sky, their leaves whispering secrets of the elder days. A fire crackled, and Leora, an elven bard with eyes like starlight, awaited her harp, singing of sorrow and splendor. "You seek the Silmarils," she said, her voice a melody of loss. They are the heart of Middle-earth's tragedy. Elara sat by a stream, its waters reflecting the moon, as Leora wove a tale that carried her to the First Age, when the world was young and the Valor walked among elves. Feanor, a Noldoran elf of unmatched genius, crafted 3 gems called the Silmarils, each holding the light of the 2 trees of Valinor. Telperion's silver and Laurelin's gold. Their radiance was divine, hallowed by Varda, Queen of the Stars, so no evil could touch them without burning. All who saw the Silmarils loved them, from the Valor to the humblest elf, but their beauty bred desire. Morgoth, envious of their light, stole them from Feanor's vault, setting them in his iron crown. Feanor swore a terrible oath to reclaim them, binding his sons to a quest that would drench the world in blood. The wars of the Silmarils consumed the First Age. Elves fought elves, kingdoms crumbled, and heroes fell, all for the gem's allure. Leora's voice broke as she sang of Beren and Luthien, who wrested 1 Silmaril from Morgoth's crown through love and sacrifice, only for it to spark new conflicts. Their light was pure, Leora said, but it kindled greed in hearts too weak to resist. Elara learned the Silmaril's fates. 1 now sailed the skies as Arundel's star, 1 rested in the earth, and 1 lay deep in the sea, forever beyond reach. Elara gazed at the stars, imagining the Silmaril's glow. They were miracles, but also curses, their beauty, a flame that could warm or consume. She thought of Feanor's oath, its echoes rippling through centuries, and felt a pang of sorrow. What do they teach? She asked, her voice soft against the night. Leora's eyes shimmered, that even the holiest light can cast shadows if we cling too tightly. Beauty is a gift, not a chain. Elara left the grove with a heavy heart, vowing to cherish beauty without possession, to seek light without losing her way. The stars above seemed to nod, guiding her to the next relic. Which relic's tale stirs your soul? Share your thoughts below, and let's unravel Middle-earth's mysteries together. The Cursed Necklace Noglamir. Elara's path wound into the deep halls of Khazad Dûm, where dwarven forges once blazed with molten gold. The air was thick with the scent of stone and memory, and the walls echoed with the clink of ancient hammers. In a chamber lit by crystal lamps, she met Thrain, a dwarven smith with a beard like iron and eyes that held both pride and pain. He held a sketch of the Noglamir, a necklace of gold and gems that gleamed even on paper. "This was our pride," he said, his voice gruff but heavy with regret, "and our shame. In the First Age, the dwarves of Nogrod crafted the Noglamir for Finrod Felagund, an elven lord whose kindness won their hearts. Its links were woven with gold from Valinor, its gems sparkling like stars. But its true glory came when Thingol, king of Doriath, sought to remake it. He had won a Silmaril, the same gem Beren and Luthien took from Morgoth's crown, and desired to set it in the necklace to wear its light against his heart. The dwarves, skilled beyond measure, wove the Silmaril into the Noglamir, creating a treasure that dazzled all who saw it. Yet beauty bred betrayal. Thingol's obsession with the Silmaril grew, and the dwarves, captivated by their own creation, demanded the necklace as their own. When Thingol refused, they slew him in his own hall, fleeing with the Noglamir. Elves pursued, slaying the thieves, but the feud ignited a war. The dwarves of Nogrod marched on Doriath, sacking its halls, only to be ambushed by Beren and his allies. The Noglamir was recovered, but the rift between elves and dwarves endured a wound that never fully healed. Thrain's hands trembled as he folded the sketch. "We built a marvel," he said, "but greed turned it to ash." Elara traced the Silmaril's outline, feeling its cursed allure. The Noglamir was a masterpiece, but also a mirror of desire's cost. She thought of Thingol's fall, of the dwarves' betrayal, and felt a pang of sorrow for bonds broken by want. "What does it teach?" she asked, her voice steady despite the weight in her chest. Thrain's eyes hardened. "That creation is nothing without trust. Build with others, but never for yourself alone." Elara left Khazad Dûm with a vow to honor collaboration, to guard against the greed that fractures bonds. The halls faded behind her, their echoes, a reminder of the Noglamir's lesson. Beauty shared is beauty preserved. Her map pointed to Lothlorien, where the next relic awaited its light, a promise of hope amidst the shadows of the past. The star's gift file of Galadriel. Elara entered Lothlorien as dawn broke its golden woods, shimmering like a dream. Leaves fell like emeralds, and the air was sweet with blossoms, each breath a melody of peace. She was led to a glade where Galadriel, Lady of Light, stood by a fountain that glowed with starlight. The Elf Queen's presence was a song, her eyes holding the wisdom of millennia. In her hands was a phial, a small glass vial that radiated a silver glow, warm as moonlight, fierce as flame. Elara felt its power before Galadriel spoke its light, banishing the shadows of her long journey. "This is the phial of Galadriel," the lady said, her voice a river of calm. "Its light is that of Arundel's star." Elara listened as Galadriel wove a tale of the First Age when Arundel, a half-elven mariner, bore a silmaril on his brow. With his wife Elwing, he sailed to Valinor, pleading with the Valar to aid Middle-earth against Morgoth. The Valar blessed his ship, Vingelote filling it with white fire and setting it to sail the heavens as a star. That star, Arendel's silmaril, became a beacon of hope, its light piercing even the darkest night. In the Third Age, Galadriel captured that light in her phial, filling it with water from her enchanted fountain. She gifted it to Frodo Baggins, who bore it through Mordor's terrors. Its glow shielded him, and Samwise from the One Ring's corruption drove back the spider. Shelob and lit their path through despair. Elara held the phial, its warmth flooding her with courage. She saw Frodo's weary steps, Sam's steadfast heart, and felt a kinship with their struggle. "How does it endure?" she asked, her voice trembling with awe. Galadriel smiled, her eyes like stars. "Hope endures, Elara, when it is shared. A single spark can light a world." Elara left Lothlorien with the phial's glow in her heart, a reminder that even the smallest gift could defy the greatest evil. She walked through the golden woods, their leaves whispering of Frodo's courage, and felt the phial's lesson: light is strongest when given, not kept. Her map pointed to Mordor, where the darkest relic awaited its shadow, a test of her resolve. The Ring of Doom, One Ring. Elara's quest drew her to Mordor, a land of ash and flame, where the sky was choked with smoke, and the ground trembled with Mount Doom's wrath. She stood at the edge of the cracks of Doom, where the One Ring, most terrible of relics, was forged and destroyed. No relic remained. Dan, its shadow, lingered, a wound in the world's heart. An old soldier, his face scarred from battles against Sauron's orcs, sat by a smoldering fire, his eyes distant. "You seek the One Ring's tale," he said, his voice thick with dread. "It's a story of ruin." In the Second Age, Sauron, Morgoth's heir, poured his malice into the One Ring, crafting it in Orodruin's fires to rule all other rings of power. Its gold band was deceptively simple, inscribed with runes that burned with dark intent. It granted long life, amplified strength, and gave its bearer a voice that could command armies. But its true power was corruption. Every soul who touched it, Isildur, Gollum, even noble Boromir, fell to its whispers, their dreams of glory twisted into servitude. It promised salvation, the soldier said, but delivered only chains. In the Third Age, Frodo Baggins bore the ring to Mordor, guided by Samwise and the Fellowship. At the cracks of Doom he faltered, claimed by the ring's will, but Gollum's betrayal led to its fall into the fire. Sauron's spirit vanished. His empire crumbled. Elara stood where the ring had fallen, feeling its absence like a void. She thought of Frodo's burden, his quiet courage, and felt a pang of gratitude. "What did Frodo learn?" she asked, her voice soft against the mountain's rumble. The soldier's eyes softened. "That true strength is letting go, lass. Sometimes the greatest victory is surrender." Elara left Mordor with a vow to seek power and service, not domination. The One Ring was gone, but its warning endured, a reminder that temptation lurks in every heart. She walked through the ash-choked plains, her heart heavy but resolute, her map pointing to Rivendell, where the final relics awaited their light, a promise of hope. The Rings of Hope. 3 elven rings. Elara's final steps brought her back to Rivendell, where the valley's mist and music welcomed her like an old friend. Elrond, Lord of the Elves, awaited in a garden where starlight danced on silver leaves. His presence was a calm sea, his eyes holding the weight of ages. Around his finger gleamed Vilya, the Ring of Air, its sapphire glowing like the sky, over a meal of honeyed bread and wine. Elrond shared the story of the 3 elven rings, his voice weaving a tapestry of hope amid shadow. In the Second Age, Celebrimbor, greatest of elven smiths after Feanor, forged the 3 rings, Narya, Nenya, and Vilya, free of Sauron's taint. Though Sauron taught Celebrimbor the craft, these rings were pure, their power rooted in preservation, not conquest. Narya, the Ring of Fire, was given to Círdan, then to Gandalf, its ruby heart, kindling courage and banishing despair. Nenya the Ring of Water adorned Galadriel's hand, its adamant stone shielding Lothlorien from evil. Vilya, the Ring of Air, bore a sapphire that glowed like the sky, its power sustaining Rivendell's serenity. The three rings were Middle-earth's bulwark against Sauron Gandalf's fire-inspired heroes. Galadriel's light preserved beauty, and Elrond's strength healed the weary, yet their power faded with the One Ring's destruction. For all rings were bound to its fate. Elara walked Rivendell's gardens feeling Vilya's calm, Nenya's grace, Narya's fire. She thought of Gandalf's laughter, Galadriel's wisdom, Elrond's resolve, and felt a surge of gratitude. "What do they teach?" she asked, her voice trembling with awe. Elrond's gaze was steady. "That true power builds, not breaks. To preserve what is good, you must give of yourself." Elara lingered in Rivendell, the three rings light a warmth in her heart. They were not weapons, but gardens, seeds of hope planted against despair. To her they were Middle-earth's truest treasures, their glow a defiance of shadow. She sat by a stream, her journal open, and wrote of their lesson. Love is the greatest power, a gift that endures when all else fades. The tapestry of Middle-earth. Elara returned to the Shire under a sky ablaze with stars, her map now a relic of her own legend. By a fire in Bag End, she opened her journal, its pages filled with the Relics' tales. Andúril was duty, a king's vow to his people. Glamdring was resilience, a light that endured ruin. The Palantiri were wisdom sharp but perilous. The Silmarils and Noglamir were beauty, divine yet divisive. The Phial of Galadriel was hope, a spark against the dark. The One Ring was power, a lie that consumed. The three elven rings were love, a gift that preserved. No relic was mightiest, Elara knew. Together they wove Middle-earth's soul, a saga of choices of hearts that rose or fell. She thought of Aragorn's sacrifice, Frodo's courage, Galadriel's light, and felt their lessons in her veins: to lead with service, to seek truth, with care to cherish without clinging to carry light through shadow. Her quest was over, but its truths would guide her always. She looked to the stars where Arendil's Silmaril shone and smiled. Middle-earth was not a place but a story, one she would share so its light might never fade. Which Relic's story calls to your heart? Share your favorite in the comments, and let's keep Middle-earth's legends alive.